Hey everybody, I wanted to go live today to talk about, sorry, I'm just getting myself situated here. Actually, let me go live on Instagram too. All right, cool. So live both on Facebook and Instagram. I want to talk about 6 reasons why we crave certain foods. So whether you're somebody who craves sugar or whether you're somebody who craves salt, there could be 100 reasons why that's happening, but I want to talk about the 6 that I see being most popular with my clients, um, so that you can start looking at, like, if you have that craving, say that 3 p.m. craving where you're just dying for sugar, you can start investigating and looking at why that might be happening for you. If you don't know and if you haven't grabbed your copy yet, if you're on Instagram, go to the link in my bio. If you're on Facebook, go to the link in the description of this video and download your free 5 steps to conquering your sugar cravings. Now, it is specific to sugar cravings, but if you're a salty craver, this guide can help you as well. I've just noticed that with my people, most of them love the sugar, just like me. So go ahead and download that, totally free, and it's going to help you with the stuff we're about to talk about. So reason number 1 why cravings happen is you might be sleep deprived. And here's what happens when we're sleep deprived. Our body naturally wants to feel awake and alert and focused, and so it's no wonder that when we're running low on sleep, especially if we are chronically low on sleep, we crave things like bagels for breakfast, or that trip to the vending machine to get those big soft cookies that live in there around 3 p.m. Or we come home after work and we have that wine because it just gives us that little like boost that we need. But then it does wear off, doesn't it? And then we're left kind of feeling crappy because of the food choices we made, and we're still feeling crappy because we're sleep deprived. So you can imagine the trick to not being sleep deprived anymore is to get more sleep, right? So that's reason number 1. Number 2 is you're being too restrictive with your diet. I see this happen all the time, is people will tell themselves, I'm going to start eating really clean. I'm not eating sugar anymore. And what's the one thing, when we tell ourselves I'm not having sugar anymore, what's the one thing that we want? All things sugar. We start craving things that we don't even like. And this happened to me with the Pop-Tarts. So if you know my story, I would binge hardcore on boxes of Pop-Tarts every single week. I would drive into CVS, I would go get my s'mores Pop-Tarts, I would sit in my car, and I would eat them like a madwoman. And if I didn't finish them by the time I got home, I finished them on my way back to work in the afternoon. The thing is after I kind of got my binge eating under control and I went back and bought Pop-Tarts, because I was like, well, I want to be able to have these when I want them and not binge on them. The second I took a bite of the s'mores Pop-Tart, it's disgusting. No offense to Pop-Tarts, but those taste like garbage. They taste like cardboard. They're not even good. But that's what I was doing. I was restricting so much that I started craving these foods that I didn't even like. And so be sure that you're not being too restrictive in your diet, especially if you're noticing these sugar cravings popping up, especially if you notice that you're starting to eat these foods that you never really ate before. Number 3 is you're stressed. What happens when we are chronically stressed, or we have a high level of stress happening, is we have cortisol, the stress hormone, running through our body. When we have something like sugar, like chocolate or something like that, it taps into the pleasure centers in our brain that just let us relax for a minute. So sugar kind of becomes our chill pill. So we're stressed out, we eat chocolate, and we feel good for a few minutes. And then once that wears off, we're left wanting more sugar because we're still stressed out. And before we know it, we have a whole pile of wrappers on our desk. I mean, that's happened to me before. I'm sure it's happened to you guys too. So managing stress is very important to, excuse you, every time. She hasn't been near me all day, but right now, every single time. Managing stress is key to managing cravings as well for a lot of us. Number 4 is your meals aren't balanced or they're not satisfying. And this is something I see happen a lot too, which, if you're doing this, please stop. So people with the best of intentions, right? They make the salad, they put it in their little square Tupperware container, spinach, cucumbers, tomatoes, carrots with some chicken on top, and then they use some like light olive oil and vinegar dressing, and they're like, this is such a good meal, it's so healthy. But that meal will leave you not everybody, but most often from what I see is that meals like that leave us wanting more because there's not a lot to them. There's nothing exciting about them, and there's nothing all that filling. Like, yeah, the veggies have a lot of fiber and there's protein in there and there's some fat, but what if we added like a little cheese just to make it a little more exciting? Or what if we added some crackers on the side to make it a little more exciting, or a tasty dressing or something like that? So we have the best of intentions in making these meals, but they might not be all that satisfying for us physically or mentally. Because as human beings, we get really tired of the same flavors over and over again. And this is something I'm going to come on and talk about tomorrow, is chasing that sweet salty combo, going back and forth between the sweet and salty foods. Our taste buds get bored. So when we're eating the same stuff and it's kind of bland, I mean, let's be honest, you know, veggies are super important and they're so good for us. But if they're just thrown into a raw salad and covered with vinegar and olive oil, they're not that tasty, right? And so it's no wonder that when we eat meals like that, we're left wanting more. Same thing with, you know, the standard healthy meal of baked chicken, brown rice, and broccoli. In theory, it's a good meal, but physiologically and satisfaction-wise, not the best. So be sure that there's a good balance of protein, fat, and fiber in your meals, yes, but also make sure there's an element of satisfaction in there too. Maybe a little cheese, maybe a little special sauce, whatever you like. Number 5, you are seeking some kind of pleasure or reward or some kind of memory. So you're walking through the mall and you smell, I think it's called Auntie Anne's pretzels, right? This is what happens for me every time I smell that. I go back to when I was 14 or 15 years old, maybe I was 16, working at Claire's Accessories. There was one right next door, and I would take my break, I would go to Auntie Anne's pretzels, get one, and eat it in the food court. And every time I walk by, I think of that. And so it could be something similar for you. Every time you smell chocolate chip cookies, maybe you think of your grandmother, and then suddenly you're craving chocolate chip cookies because you're craving the memory of your grandmother or the feelings that she had you feel, and so then we go and eat all the cookies, right? Same thing with reward. Ooh, I had a great day today. I ate so well. I got my workout in. I deserve something special. And then we start craving the sugar or the carbs or whatever, cheese and crackers. So beware of that as well. Memory, pleasure, reward. And then lastly, number 6, you've made a habit out of it. So this is people who say, every day after lunch, I have to have something sweet. Or every day with lunch, I have to have something salty. You don't have to. You're not going to die if you don't do it, right? So that's when we know it's a habit. And this happened to me a few years ago too. I was having those dark chocolate peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's after lunch every single day. And I was just having like 1 or 2 of them. But it became a habit. I would get up, I would eat my lunch, I would get up, and I'd go right to the cabinet. You stay down there. Don't jump up here. She's going to do it anyway. I would go right to the cabinet to get my peanut butter cups. And after, you know, a few weeks of this, I was like, well, is this necessary or is this just a habit? So I'm like, let me see what happens if I don't do it. So I would have my lunch, I would want the peanut butter cup, and I would just sit with it. And I would just be like, all right, let me see what happens, because the truth is I'm full from lunch. I don't really need this. So let's see what else I can do. Let's see where it's coming from. So if you find yourself craving foods after a certain meal, or, you know, you're sitting watching TV at night and it just feels like you need something to eat, you just created a habit around it, and then it becomes about breaking that habit. So really quick to review, Turtle, that's your side. Number 1 reason for cravings is you are sleep deprived. You might be sleep deprived. Number 2 is you're being too restrictive with your diet. Number 3, you're stressed out and you're not managing your stress very well. Number 4, your meals aren't balanced or satisfying. Number 5, you're seeking some kind of pleasure or memory or reward from food. And number 6, you've created a habit around that food. So let me know in the comments, if you're on live or if you're watching the replay, which one resonates with you most, so that we can start talking about how to, you know, get you out of that place. Maybe how you can get more sleep, how you can manage stress better, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, pop it in the comments and let me know. And be sure to grab your cravings guide. So you get the guide. It's my 5-step system to conquering your sugar cravings. Now, that's not to say you're never going to crave anything ever again. just not possible. We're going to crave foods, but this guide will help you decide whether the indulgence is worth it or not. And I think that's a really important skill to have, because cravings are not going anywhere. They're going to be with us. They're here to stay. So you might as well learn how to manage them. So you can go to, again, on Instagram, go to the link in my bio to download that guide. If you're on Facebook, go to the description. And then after you get the guide, cat, swear to God, she just wants to be seen. She knows she's part of the Fueled Physique brand. After you download the guide, there's an entire email series that comes after it with a ton more information for you to really master this mindful eating and conquering your craving stuff. So Maureen, the end of the day is a huge problem for me. Yes. So Maureen, what I would love for you to do is start asking yourself why. Is it because you had a stressful day? Is it because you're tired? What is the reason why it's the end of the day? Maybe you just feel like you need, it's that kind of reward, like, oh, I got through the day. So figure out what that is for you, and let's work on that together. Anybody, let me minimize this stuff over here. All right, so if there are no questions, if you're watching the replay, definitely let me know what your trouble area is with this stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to grab your guide, because it's really good, and it was a labor of love, and I loved putting it together, and I'm so excited that it's finally out, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday evening.